This is our presentation on Creole by Sophy and Hari. So, many of you are probably wondering what Creole means, which would be why you're watching this video. Anyway, in order to understand the concept of Creole, you first have to understand what a pidgin is. A pidgin language is basically a simplified form of like a base language that uses key vocabulary words and some grammar, but it's limited. As you can see, this is often heard in the spoken English of Hindustani Indian immigrants to Britain, Canada, and the United States. That would be a pidgin. Occurs when a pidgin language evolves into its own individual language group over time. A Creole language is essentially a pidgin language that evolves into the primary language for a group of people. To demonstrate this concept, I'll make a quick drawing. I'm not the best artist. So first of all, I would like to apologize in advance for my lack of artistic abilities. What I have drawn out here is a Native American chief with an Englishman, and as you can see, they are not speaking fluent or full English sentences, I guess you could say, which is why this would be considered a pidgin language. By saying, like, I trade land, well, you're simplifying that sentence, so it's toning down, like, the grammar overall. And by saying you give food, the same concept is applied. So it's making it less complicated so that the two can communicate. However, this is not an example of a Creole language or a forming Creole language because this Native American man does not speak this simplified form of English as his primary language. He speaks whatever language his tribe speaks and whatever language he has grown up with. This man, however, speaks a different language, not simplified English. He speaks the actual English language. But because these two can use a simplified form of English to communicate for trading purposes, etc., this would be a pidgin. According to our textbook, a Creole or Creolized language is defined as a language that results from the mixing of a colonizer's language with the indigenous language of the people who are being dominated. This is usually true. One real-world example of a Creole language would be Portuguese Creole, which is spoken in the Cape Verde Islands off the coast of northern Africa. Portuguese language is a Romance language, so it has a lot in common structurally with Latin, French, and Spanish. Nobody really quite knows for sure how the Portuguese Creole language came about due to a lack of evidence, but at some point in history, people living in the Portuguese, Moroccan, and West Saharan region most likely had to communicate for trading reasons. So, Portuguese Creole was born at some point in history. Because of this mix, the Portuguese Creole language is considered an Afro-Portuguese language group. So, although the Portuguese Creole language is called the Portuguese Creole language, it's still very much a mix of African and Portuguese dialects, along with vocabulary from both languages and limited grammar. Up next is Hari. She's going to teach you about 2 more examples of Creole languages.
Another example of Creole is Haitian Creole. Haitian Creole is a language that was created during the late 17th and early 18th centuries. Haitian Creole was developed through the contact between African slaves and French colonists. This language was developed on the plantations of Haiti. Mauritian Creole or Mauritian is another example of Creole languages. Mauritian is spoken in the Mauritius Islands of Africa. Mauritian was created through the contact between French colonists and the people they enslaved. Most of the enslaved people spoke Malagasy, Wolof, or some East African Bantu languages.
Thank you for watching our presentation on Creole languages.